Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today as the 39th BBSA Elevate series continues. My name is Alicia Magnus Lewis, and I am a rising second year at Columbia Business School. I am the Assistant Vice President for the Elevate Conference series today. We are so excited to welcome our esteemed guest today, Ms. Tyra Banks. We are delighted to have you with us today, Tyra.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Today's discussion will be moderated by two recent graduates of the Columbia MBA program, Zaire Julian and Danae Bill. Zaire Julian is a recent MBA graduate of Columbia Business School. Before business school, she worked in TV development and production at showrunner company Courtney Kemp's production company, where she worked on productions such as Power on Stars and helped develop a variety of TV shows. She was also a TV talent assistant at ICM Partners, where she worked with talent such as Brandy, Paula Abdul, and Olivia Colman. This past summer, Zaire interned at HBO Max in the corporate strategy group, and so exciting to announce that post-MBA, Zaire will be joining Google full-time. Danae Bell is also a recent graduate of Columbia Business School. With a passion for fashion and financials, prior to CBS, she worked in finance and strategy at a number of different retailers in the Texas area, where she led annual budgeting and board of director presentations while working closely with marketing and promotion campaigns. Last summer, Danae interned at Procter & Gamble in e-commerce as a senior brand management intern. And this July, it's really exciting that Danae will be starting as a full-time management consultant at McKinsey & Company. Now I would love to hand it over to Zaire, who will introduce Ms. Tyra Banks.
All right, thank you so much, Alicia, and thank you, Ms. Tyra, for being here with us today. I'm going to walk through your introduction, but I feel like you're definitely the type of person that doesn't even need an introduction. So Ms. Tyra Banks, an entrepreneur, supermodel, Emmy Award-winning television producer and personality. Many of you may not know that she was the first female model to appear on the cover of GQ magazine and the first Black woman to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, which she did twice and broke a lot of records while doing so. She was also twice named as Time Magazine's most influential people in the world. And for the last 3 years, she has taught at Stanford Graduate School of Business. So Tyra, a long history of entrepreneurship ventures, and her latest venture is called Smize Cream, which is a super premium innovative ice cream company, which we'll be talking a lot about today. So thank you again for being here with us, Ms. Banks. And to kick us off, we'd definitely love to know how are you? How have you been the last year and a half during the pandemic?
Off and on, up and down, being my son's teacher for a long time, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. He was 4 at the time, trying to balance being an entrepreneur in the house, with him. Doing a lot better now on that front, on the mommy balancing work front, but super stressed out with my startup. I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. This is a real session. Entrepreneurship, as many of you guys know or will know, is no joke. I say crazy people, crazy in a good way, become entrepreneurs. We are attracted to risk. We have a high tolerance for it. We believe in the craziest things in the world and that things can happen. And so I am living and breathing that right now and extremely excited, but child, look at my hair. I'm looking at both of our beautiful moderators here. Look at Zaire and Danae. I know you guys are like, yo, can we get a brush or something? So you can see.
You're doing great.
You look amazing. Craziness I'm going through right now, but entrepreneurship. But we're super excited about Smize Cream right now. Yes.
Awesome. So let's actually take it back to the beginning. You are one of the world's most iconic supermodels. I guess my question is, how did you carve out your path in modeling? And then as we are talking to a lot of non-traditional business students on the line today, what are some of the key lessons from modeling that you think made you better as a businesswoman today?
Yeah, so, back in my day, there were tons of models and ones that looked way better than I did. But I think it was really about studying and like mastering modeling. And so I was going to go to college for film and television production, got accepted to every school I applied to for film and TV production. And then the 2 weeks before my first day of freshman year at college, I got discovered to go to Paris to model. And I had to make a decision, Paris or modeling, Paris or college. And, you know, after a couple of days, I literally had days, I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a year to go to Paris. And if I can be very successful, I'll defer school a little bit longer. If not, I'm coming right back to school. And the university said they would defer me for a year and I can come back a year later. And so my mom said, you study for the SATs, you study for the ACTs, you got into all your schools. I'd be damned if I send my daughter to Paris and she don't know nothing about French fashion and French business of fashion. And she's like, you need to figure it out or else you ain't going. And I was like, what? So I went into the yellow pages, because I'm old, y'all. I'm old. So I went to the yellow pages before the internet and looked up fashion library, which existed in downtown Los Angeles. I took, my car wasn't working at that time. I took the bus to the fashion library and sat with that librarian, and she showed me tapes and tapes of Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent, Dior, all the French designers. I studied how all of them walked, what the models looked like. She was like, what is that? Jeune et Jolie, 20 ans, like all these different French magazines. I studied how to pose for those different magazines. I knew to read the magazine from like sideways like that, because inside of the little well was where you had the credits of the photographers and the makeup artists and all that. So when I went to Paris, I would walk into like the lobby of Chanel and pull my hair down and put on like a frosty lip gloss and lipstick, and then walk for them and like twirl fake pearls. And then I'd leave there and then I'd be like, hey, it's Yves Saint Laurent hair, very similar to Zaire's hair right now, chignon, like a bun, but in the back, and like red lipstick, and then very demure and very like feline, actually not demure, more feline. And so walk like that. So I kept changing my walk and my look, and broke history and booked 25 fashion shows. Nobody had ever done that as a new model. And yeah, I had a look that was interesting at that time, but it was more about that preparation. And I feel like that can take everybody on this call right now, on this Zoom right now, to the next level, because we're in a highly competitive world right now, even more than back in my day. And when you can kind of know your craft and hone it and know it even more than the person that you're interviewing with, or the sector that you're getting into, it's such a competitive advantage. So that's what I did.
Yeah, we love that. And I think one of the things that stands out about your modeling career is really you broke the mold, you broke the landscape coming in as an African-American model. I know one of the things that you mentioned was being a little bit more curvier as well. And then we saw when you launched America's Next Top Model is that you really cared about representation in fashion and beauty. Mm-hmm. One of the things I love about America's Next Top Model is that there were dark-skinned models, there was a model with acne. And one of the things that the industry is going through right now is how to still meet the representation goals. So we definitely would love to hear from you, someone that's been at the forefront of the industry. Well, what can the industry continue to do to be held accountable and ultimately transform?
Yeah. So yeah, America's Next Top Model, I mean, there is a lot of diversity now. I think we're going through a diversity revolution, to be honest. And I hope that it's not a movement that's a trend. I always say that our skin is not a trend. So this is something that needs to change. The door needs to be burst open, and the change needs to continue to where it's boring. Like, we need to see Black models, curvy models and everything, and just be like, oh, she Black, oh, she curvy, or she, and it's not a big deal. We need to be bored by it. It just needs to be normal, not diversity, just existence. And way back in the America's Next Top Model days, there was none of that. Yes, there were some Black models on runways, but a curve model, I would have to fight to get a size 12 girl on America's Next Top Model. And then we would put her on castings on the show, and the designers said, oh no, we have clothes for her. And then they get there and they didn't have clothes for her. I mean, we've come such a long way, but we still have a long way to go, because I fear that it is a trend. The diversity and the movement and the revolution that's going on now. But the one thing that will not make it a trend is social media. So there's so much power in social media, and brands are terrified of not you know, raising their representation to the levels that are fair and equitable. And so I feel like back in my day, it was a Black girl season. It was oh, now it's the Czechoslovakia, it's an Eastern European season. Oh, and now it's the Russians. Oh, we love the Brazilians now. Oh, it's an African American. Oh, but now it's an African. And we would all go in and out of fashion. And I do believe that now, with voices continuing to be vocal, that the trend will not be a trend, and it will turn into boring, which is the goal. You understand what I mean by boring? Just like normal.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, definitely. So I was gonna say, yeah, so definitely throughout this recruiting process that we're all going through right now or have been through this year, there's definitely been a lot of talk about diversity and inclusion and, you know, trying to increase the number of Black employees at companies. So we definitely understand that. So speaking about business school, so after the Tyra Banks show, you enrolled at Harvard Business School Executive Education Program called the Owner President Management Program. What inspired you to enroll in this program? I know you talked a little bit about, you know, how important education is. Can you talk a little bit about like what that experience was for you, business school?
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to go back to college, but ended up being very successful as a model in Europe, and just said, okay, well, let me ride this wave. But there was also always a feeling of failure that I didn't go to college. I remember when all of my friends graduated undergrad, and a couple of them invited me to their graduation because a lot of us were going to that same school. And so they were graduating from the school that I was going to go to with them. But of course I wasn't graduating. Yes, I was a supermodel, but for me at that moment, it meant nothing. And I was sick that day, not like mentally sick that day, crying, feeling like a failure. I lied to them and said that I was sick. I wasn't sick. I just was like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, because as a model or as an athlete, you have an ending to your career. And there is a ticking time bomb, and it's just going to explode and be egg in your face, and it's done. And what are you going to do next? Whereas I felt like my friends that had education had choice and not an expiration date necessarily on their career. So I just was kind of grappling with that. So that always lived inside of me. Then years later, I hired a woman by the name of Sharon Patrick. Sharon Patrick was a branding expert, and I hired her to analyze my personal brand to help me decide on what the right decisions that I should make. How should I focus myself? She actually ran Martha Stewart's business in the early days. And Sharon was supposed to work with me for a couple of weeks, and it ended up being lots of months because she's like, you're nuanced. You got all kind of crazy stuff happening. I'm going to need some more time. She didn't charge me more. So we were still aligned with, you know, it wasn't like she's trying to charge me more money. And she kept telling me, she's like, Tyra, you have this business gut and it has gotten you this far. Have you ever thought about school? And I was like, yeah, undergrad, but I don't know if I should do that. It feels like so many steps to, and then she was like, have you ever heard of executive education with business schools? I had no idea what she was talking about. I was like, but I can't get in because I don't have an undergrad. And she's like, no, there's something for executives. It's called the Owner President Management Program. And it's at Harvard Business School. And you can actually go by proving what you've done in business. And there's a certain like criteria, but I think you match it. And so I went. I also had a consultant that I was working with at the time. She was a genius consultant. And she was trying to get me to go to Wharton, business executive education at Wharton. And I was just intimidated by Wharton. I was like, is it all numbers? I'm a little bit intimidated by Columbia too, to be honest, because y'all really financy. And I was like, I don't know about Wharton. I don't know if I can hang. And so I decided to go to Harvard Business School, but I was on the executive education side, but I was terrified on the finance and accounting. So I studied with a Columbia professor. Okay, I got to get his name right. Sid Balan, I'm going to say it wrong. Balanchran. I can't remember his last name, but if you guys kind of Google that, Columbia accounting, he's an accounting professor. I would go to you guys' campus in the office and study like crazy for him. I'm like, Sid, I'm going to this HBS thing. I got to live in the dorms. I have nobody to lean on. And I don't know anything about accounting. And he gave me like accounting for non-financial executives, like a crash course. And because of him, because of professor at your school, I don't know if he's still there, when I was in my class, I was not the most clueless person in accounting. Actually, the teacher was like, oh, okay, I used to be a fashion model. Okay, but you know what you're doing. I'm like, so I wanted to take my gut and make it real, make it based on true principles and not just go off of gut for the rest of my life. I know that I wanted to create businesses that outlived me, that had to do with what I stood for, but I didn't want to have to tap dance to make money for the rest of my life. I wanted to create businesses and entities that outlived me and that can make money while I was sleeping too. So long story, that's why I went.
Oh, that was fantastic. Such a fun fact about the professor. But yeah, like accounting and finance, one of the hardest parts of business school, I guess.
Oh my God, I would take my homework home and I'd be like, oh, I'm doing it. I got it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And then I would come back the next day and I'd be like, and he would just be like red X's everywhere. He was like, that formula was off. You didn't, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but finally he got me to a good place.
Yeah. So in terms of like your ventures, your entrepreneurship, you have been a mogul businesswoman for a long part of your career. And one of the things I find really fascinating just about your background is your sheer intelligence and your creativity. And a lot of us in the audience at Columbia Business School, we're entrepreneurs. We go through a pitching process. So I feel like the audience would really love to hear about what has your pitching process been when you're pitched some of your ventures such as Model Land and Smize Cream.
For me, pitching has to be story driven for me. I have to be able to, because I know that, you know, people that have the money to supply the means to our dreams hear pitches constantly. So I get all my facts, all that, and all the competitive analysis, all that done. Then I say, how can I tell this story where they don't want it to end? And how can I get a yes in the room? Child very rarely get a yes in the room, but it's happened before. And so it's all about storytelling, and it's all about me trying to get to that human like emotion and how can I connect with them. I also do some research, and of course, you know how you tweak your pitch to who's going to be in that room. So I find out, do they have kids? How old are those kids? Are they married? Are they this? Are they that? And then I just tweak it, and I tell that story, and I penetrate where I know it's going to touch them. Doesn't always work, but that's the way that I do it, is to tell the story. And I have bombed a pitch before, like really bad. During COVID, early COVID, there was, and I tend to not do this, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put myself out there. And it was, what do you call it? It's like almost like speed pitching, you know, and you're in line and you're like next. And like, so I was like 5th in line, and it was for women, pitching to women. Venture women to get, you know, whatever. And I was pitching my Model Land business, and it was a mess. And what happened was I was doing notes at the last minute, and I had stuff on my screen and a paper like this, but I was tweaking at the last minute and things were not aligning. So I was supposed to look at my screen and kind of glance down, and it wasn't, I did it all wrong. So the numbers were all off and crazy. So I looked like a crazy, I almost felt like crying. I was like, and I was contemplating, do I pretend like I'm having problems with my tech? Should I start going like this? You know, like what should I do to get, it was awful. And to this day, what lives inside of me, and I'm sure all of us have something that lives inside of them that's a little bit, this little insecure thing, is dumb model. Not a dumb model, never been a dumb model, but I know what people think. And so in that moment, I was like, I'm the dumb model to these women. There is no way that I could get around this. I'm going to be that until they see me speaking somewhere with some level of sensibility and see this business be successful. So it lives inside of all of us. I know. In some way.
So in thinking about pitching and business ventures, I would love to talk about your latest venture, Smize Cream. I have literally been following on social media, and I just get so excited about all of those. Can you talk about kind of what was the inspiration for that? I just know like the transition from beauty to ice cream. Can you talk a little bit more about that And kind of what was your experience pivoting from beauty to a consumer packaged goods company?
So 15 years ago, I had a plan to create an ice cream company. 15 years. I had a business plan, had partners, some of the top gelato makers in California. I partnered with them for many reasons, one of them being me starting a talk show at the same time. I decided to pause because I feel like focus is what creates excellence, not doing a million things at the same time, but like staging them. So I put it on a shelf. Cut to years later, I love Disneyland. I love immersive experiences, and I love giving people access to expand the definition of beauty and to have fun with it. And so I created something called Model Land, which is a location-based attraction where you can come, the whole family can come and live like a fashion fantasy and do all kind of crazy technology things and fun and shopping and eating and food. And it was supposed to launch May 2020. We know what happened in the world. So Model Land was never able to open. Inside of Model Land was a separate business, many different businesses actually, still owned and operated by me and the company, but separate. And one of them was called Smize Cream. And I decided, instead of twiddling my thumbs and playing defense with all of the drama and pain and hardship of letting people go, all the crazy stuff, losing tons of personal money with Model Land, all the crazy pain and stuff, I was like, okay, let's stop playing defense and let's play offense. What can we do now during this global pandemic to still make our dreams come true and try to create some jobs? And that's when I said, Smize Cream. It's not just going to be a separate business inside of Model Land launching later. It's just going to be a separate business right now. So with our skeleton crew, the people that we had left, we went hard in creating this ice cream company. And I will say that a lot of the challenges that we went through, and we went through challenges, we were supposed to launch in August of 2020. The challenges that we went through made a better product and a better company. So at first, I didn't understand the ice cream company to the depth, the ice cream business to the depth that I do now. And we ended up first wanting to work with co-packers where I would give them my ideas of recipes, but then they would use their ingredients to make my recipes. We had issues with them and ended up parting ways. And now everything is proprietary. So I'm speaking to business school students. So now there is so much more value in our company because we have the 11 herbs and spices that are secret, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, but it's just ice cream. So we own our ice cream based recipes. We have something called a smize surprise. So I always say different is better than better. Yes, our ice cream base, which makes up, kind of the flavor, taste, texture of ice cream base, our ice cream is amazing. It's better than a lot of other companies, but different is better than better. As you said, I teach personal branding at Stanford Business School, and I tell my students, different is better than better. Look at the people around you, look at the people in your sector. You can't be just better, you gotta be different. And so I'm inspired by the Cracker Jacks. Do you know Cracker Jacks? There's their caramel corn, and then there's a prize in the bottom of Cracker Jacks. Some of you guys probably don't know what this is, but there was a caramel corn in a box. And in that box, it's almost like a cereal box where there's like a prize. And me and my brother, when I was kids, we would fight for that Cracker Jack prize, or even a cereal box. We wanted that prize, that little gift in there. And I was like, what if I created a prize inside of Smize Cream? But it wasn't a little tattoo or a little booklet or a little ring or something like that, but it was edible. And so Smize Cream has an edible, huge cookie dough covered chunk in each serving. And so one of our taglines, we have 3. One of our taglines is dig, baby, dig, because the ice cream is good, but you're trying to get to that Smize surprise. And every Smize surprise is a different flavor that corresponds to the flavor of the ice cream. So we're launching with 8. We soft launch now, but we're going to be launching with 8 final flavors in a month, and they all have a different flavor. But then I take it a next level because I always want to have what is the give back to society that I'm giving? What is that? And so for me, digging for that smize surprise is not just digging for something that tastes tasty, it's digging for your goals. So the smize, all of Smize Cream, what we represent is helping people's wishes, goals, and dreams come true. So we have a program that we're about to launch in about a month that is a mentorship program that helps people reach their goals and their dreams and their wishes, all symbolized by digging for your goals. Okay.
Oh,
Just
I love
that
that.
you displayed while you were talking about your brand is literally something that you can't teach, you know, like it just comes through you. And I just love watching that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned, for example, starting this sort of like camp, it reminded me of, I believe you had like a Thai camp back in the day.
Yes.
It's coming full circle, and I love that.
Yeah. So years ago, my mom and I started a foundation called Tzone.
Tzone.
Tzone, yeah. And it was all about self-esteem for young girls. I struggled with self-esteem as a young girl. I used to be, I guess, average body weight as a kid. And then between 6th and 7th grade, I grew 3 inches and lost 30 pounds in 3 months. And we know in certain cultures, they're like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And the Black community is like, girl, fix her a plate. She looks sick. And so I grew up feeling and actually looking ill, to be honest. I had dark circles under my eyes. I was super skinny, super made fun of, even by adults. My school reported me. They thought that I had an eating disorder. Every week I would get on the bus after school and go to a doctor, needles, tests, just constantly like, what's wrong with her? There was nothing I could do to gain weight. My brother would make me chocolate and peanut butter shakes after school to try to, and nothing worked. And so I had those issues. And then later I started to gain weight, and later I started to model. But then it flipped for me. I felt like as a model, I put on the fake hair and tons of makeup and corsets and body makeup and all of this stuff and project this image to young girls that was not real. It's a creation. There are some models that wake up looking amazing. That's not me. I'm a creation. And I say I cleaned up real well, I know, but it is a creation. And I take it off at night, including this. Just go on social, girl, you'll see the real hair. It's just, you know, every other picture is my real hair in the last couple of weeks. I contemplated wearing my real hair today, but my edges were a little crazy, so I didn't. Anyway, so I felt the need to tell the truth. So I used to do that back in the day before it was a thing. I would be real raw. I remember me and Tony Braxton were the only people in the entertainment industry that would say this was real. I'm fake. Sorry, that this was fake. And people be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said it. I'm like, well, it is fake. And Tony would be like, yeah, it's fake. This is when she got long hair because she stepped short hair. And so I decided to start a camp for young girls because I loved Girl Scout camp growing up. And so my mom and I started a nonprofit, and it was totally paid for by me, where we would have girls between the ages of 11 and 16 come to the mountains in Los Angeles for a whole week. And we would, every night there was like a different topic. And I was trained by crisis counselors in how to handle young women's issues. So one night was gender stereotypes. A next one was, I don't even remember. What was the other one? Oh, the different types of abuse. Another one was body image, beauty and body image. And that night, everybody was crying, including the counselors. And it showed me, wow, we were talking about some heavy, heavy stuff. But for some reason on beauty and body image night, there's not a dry eye in that room. And so I did that for many, many, many years. And then later started a talk show and used all the training that I got from crisis counselors and did it on television.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I have one more question just about Smize Cream. Just taking it back there, how can we get access to it? Is it going to be available nationwide? I know a lot of us in the audience like won't want to have.
Yeah, so right now we're in a soft launch. We don't really say it's a soft launch, but it is a very soft launch. The world has not seen the branding. We have what I call like our Colonel Sanders. Her name is DJ Splits. She's kind of like a grandmama who's also a DJ and an ice cream maker, and she's my fictitious co-founder. So there's a whole IP thing going on with her. but right now it's all soft launch and just like testing little things. And in about 3 weeks, you're going to see very strong campaign. You're going to see what the Smize Cream brand is all about. You're going to feel our whole give back and the mentoring program. And you're going to be able to get Smize Cream delivered to your doorstep. Right now, you can only get it in Santa Monica, California, but we're going to be in 5 locations in California and expanding nationally and internationally. But very soon you can just get it mailed to you.
Love to hear that.
There goes my little diet. So Tyra, you are one of the undisputed masters of personal brand. Just like hearing you talk now, and now, as you said, you teach personal branding at Stanford Graduate School. I know we have some Stanford graduate students on the line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all across business schools. So, and you have built a pathway to make multiple pivots across your career. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the keys to building an authentic personal brand as we're all transitioning into our careers?
Mm-hmm. So the one thing is, if you can keep it as authentic to yourself as possible, there's less work and less energy. At the same time, there may be parts of yourself that are you, but a little bit more dormant that you should push further because it makes you different. So it's like, okay, this is what I stand for. This is what I'm passionate about. I also kind of stand for this and I'm passionate about this. Everybody in my business is passionate about this and does this. So let me pull up a little bit of some of that to make myself stand out. I always say different is better than better. Different is better than better. Constantly look at your competitors. And sometimes it can be your friends and it can be friendly competition. Say, what are they doing? Okay, yes, and I need to do that, but I also need to do this, say this. Be on these different platforms that they're not on. Constantly finding that white space on how to stand out is, to me, the key to survival and thriving.
I think for you personally, like you've made really fantastic pivots throughout your own career, as today mentioned. What are some key things that you consider for like your own personal brand before every pivot?
For when I was a runway model, I feel like my personal brand was, I was a little wacky on the runway, to be honest. Partly because just naturally I wanted to do that, but I also knew that it was different. And so I got really known on the runway first because they're like, who's that young girl walking, this Black American girl? And just because I was in Europe, and she's sashaying and she keeps her face forward, but then keeps her eyes to the side and is doing all this and going a little crazy. And so that was differentiation for me. Then I started to gain weight and had to make a decision. Do I lose weight for these people because I'm not fitting these clothes anymore and they're making it very well known? Or should I find an audience that will accept this booty? And my mom helped me to find what she said, clients that like ass. And she didn't mean sexually, she meant because your ass is getting big and I'd be damned if my child stars for these bitches in black. That's what my mama said. You guys are college students, if you're high school, I wouldn't say that. I would say people in black. And I would say, but she would say, yeah, she's not going to star for these bitches in black, meaning the people in the fashion industry back in the day only wore black in the front row. Now they wear everything. And so we went to a pizzeria in Italy, and there was like a white paper on the table. And she says, you write down everybody that likes ass. And I thought she was talking like sexual. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, clients. So I was like, oh no, Victoria's Secret, write it down. It's like Sports Illustrated, write it down. And then there were also more like just normal clothing companies that liked curves. So I wrote all those down, and then she drew a line down the middle of the paper. And she's like, hey, on this side, you write down all the people that got ass, all the models that got ass. And I'm like, Cindy Crawford, write it down. She got ass, write it down. So then I had this list of not that many models with ass, but more clients that liked it. And then she said, these are your future clients, and these are the careers that you need to be inspired by, but make it your own. And there was this epiphany that came to me. And I was like, wow, Black American models, we were hired during that time. It wasn't like there were no Black models on the runway. That happened maybe 10 years after my time of starting. But we weren't allowed to be the girl next door. We had to be like kind of intimidating and like more, you know, like feline and like beautiful. These are the models that I looked up to, but there was no such thing as like girl next door. And so I didn't know it, but my mom and I found that white space and said, okay, there's a Cindy Crawford, but where's the Black one? And so that was my strategy. How can I just be, because I was intimidated by the high fashion industry. Like I was scared. Like they would be dressing me and talking like this, and I was like, this is like Halloween to me. Like you're from Arkansas. Why do you have a French accent? Like what? I'm from Inglewood. I'm not talking crazy. I lived in Paris for 2 years too. But why are you talking like, everything was just so weird to me. And I wanted to connect to who I was just a girl, a Black girl in America. And so we really focused there. I did like swimsuit calendars and sold it at Walmart and, just all these things to just really be who I was naturally, as opposed to forcing myself into being classy, which I was not.
Awesome. We actually have a question in the audience related to that. So it says your mom is phenomenal and was a clear champion for you in every pivot that you've made. What advice would you give to women who don't have a Mama Banks, but will need similar guidance over the course of their career?
Cold call people and like find them. Are they speaking at an event? And research them so much. And research something about them that is not normal, right? So I'm just gonna make up a fictitious executive female something, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. I would love to have a conversation with her. And she's worked at this and she's done this and she's done consulting here and she's the CEO here and she's done this. Don't go up to her and say that. Go up to her and be like, I hear that you like butter pecan ice cream. Or is it true that you're obsessed with Disneyland? The minute like anything like that, it breaks what they're used to hearing and you'll have their attention. Will you have a mentor? I can't guarantee that, but you will have cracked open the door and then it is time to then go in and get the ask. Well, I've always looked up to you. I'm obsessed with butter pecan ice cream and I love Disneyland too. And when you did the merger of the blah, 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 I was just like floored. I followed you, look, I researched you, I have and can I just email you or just call you once a month, 20 minutes. All it is 20 minutes. I will put a timer up and, like when you're looking for that mama bear or that papa bear, making it the easiest for them, like letting them know I'm going to come with questions. It'll be this long and I'll be out. Then they're like, okay, I can handle this because they do have about 15 other mentees. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, oh, I got to do another one. Oh Lord. So just making it that easy for them and being unapologetic, finding them, the cold call, the email, the going to events again one day, find them. And also I say, don't look for mentees and mama bears and papa bears fishing. Throw the net because a lot of them are going to say no. So you make them think that they're the only person that you were asking, but child, you have thrown the net and you are trying to fish as many as possible and hope that you come out of that water with one, at least one.
So yeah, as we open it up to audience Q&A, please continue to post your questions in the chat. We have another question. I love this question from Lacey Pierre. She says, hi, Tyra. I am a Tzone alum. And she says it's definitely an experience that has remained with her. And her question is, girls and women are adversely impacted by social media, such as unrealistic, unhealthy expectations and comparisons as it pertains to their body, career, self-care, cultural appropriation. How has your relationship with social media evolved over time to become a more healthy one?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I wish I knew what her camp name was at Tzone. So at my camp at Tzone, everybody came in and we all changed our names. So no one called me Tyra. They called me BBQ because I love barbecue. And so Lacey obviously had a camp name that I would probably know. I don't know Lacey at all, but if she was Butterfly or Superfly or Water Baby or whatever.
She said it was Cool Cat.
Oh. Cool Cat. Why does this seem familiar to me? I want to know what year was she. I don't think she was year one though. I don't think you were year one. All right, Miss Cool Cat. All right, girl. So social media. So when I first started in the entertainment industry, there was no social media. There was no internet. So I didn't sign up for this. And I think that social media is an angel and it's a devil. It's both. I don't think that a lot of the revolution, from beauty to equity to police brutality, all this stuff that's happening right now, without social media and without people having camera phones and all of that, the world wouldn't have changed. At the same time, there's a lot of pain in the world, and hurt people hurt people. So if somebody is feeling bad, they go on social media and do something like this, and they actually might even be smiling and watching TV, but it looks like because they're just releasing a little bit of pain, not knowing that they're really devastating people out there. So how I deal with it, I used to not really read comments. I read comments sometimes. I'm lucky enough to have a team that really handles a lot of the social media, but I do still read comments sometimes, but more on the entrepreneur side, because I want to make sure that we're servicing the customer right. I want to make sure that the business and stuff is answering the things, or just being privy to what people want, what the challenges are. On the personal side, I don't really read it that much, but make sure that I have people on my team that are reporting if there's anything that is super positive or super negative. And then I choose to address some things and choose not to address some things. You can't address every single thing. And you guys as business people in this hyper-connected world, a huge percentage of you will have to deal with social media blowback. It just is, particularly being a boss, particularly being, like in control and having to hire people, and people are disgruntled, and, and that's just their right as well. That's their right to be able to express it. And it's just, how are you going to answer that? And what are the protocols that you're going to do? And what can you do from the business side to take care of that person and also to protect your business? And on the personal side, what can you do to take care of that, but also to maintain your own personal mental health? And sometimes you have to turn it off and you have to have somebody else handle that.
Love that. Speaking of mental health, first of all, the questions from the audience are coming crazy. But speaking of mental health, I have a question from Alima. She talks about, so she said, thank you so much for being here. Can you share with us how you recharge and like how you recuperate from after stressful events? I think that's very much so related to this pandemic,
Yes.
right?
Stressful events, meaning like in the world, or a stressful event of the day? Or should I just, I don't know how macro.
Yes, both.
Both. Okay. So stressful events of the day, there's nothing like coming home and washing my face. And if I have a wig on, taking that thing off, and then just getting in front of the TV and Netflixing or Amazon priming, or like just, I love content. Most of my content I've created has been unscripted television. I prefer scripted television, and just to get watching scripted television and just getting lost in stories, that for me is a massage. It's like just, I also love a bath. I will stay in the bath for 3 hours. I just keep letting in a little bit more hot water, and that bath is just, for me, it's everything. And then what I used to do before COVID was massage. So I would go to the spa and get massages. And I recommend to people, like, you should have a couple different types of spas, right? Depending on your budget, and also like proximity to your house. So I have 3 levels. I have the spa where, I don't even know if you want to call it a spa, it's like the foot massage, and there's like 15 people in the room, and it's just like $20 and you get like that foot massage. And it's like the biggest stress reliever, and it's something that if you have the budget for it, you can do it every day, like on the way home from work if you're walking, New York City or whatever. And then there's the one that's like $49 for an hour, $59 for an hour. I have one near my home in LA. You just kind of just go in there and you chill, and it's not that expensive, but a little bit more than the foot massage with 15 people in the room. And then there's the like fancy one at the hotel, where you better make sure that if you paying like $150 to $250 for a massage, get there early and stay after. Like, don't just go for the massage because your eyes are closed and you're laying on a table, which means you can easily just be at the $49 one, right? So make sure that you're getting your money's worth by getting there early, getting in the jacuzzi and the steam and chilling out on the fancy thing, and then get the massage and then lay there for an hour, child. So you can get that $150, $250. So those are the things that I do to relax.
I love it. I know a lot of us are taking notes about this self-care. It's needed.
It is so important. I need it right now more than ever. Like with being an entrepreneur, like it is so hard right now. I have a team, but there's always an issue. I mean, I'm dealing with sprinkles right now in Chicago, and hiring this person, and no, they're sick, and this one got real sick, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's just so much. And you just gotta chill. In fact, my man today was like, yo, you're having an allergy attack, which I had this morning because I have really bad allergies. You need to take a walk and take a bath and just stop. And stopping is very difficult for me. It is very difficult for me. I feel like I need to have my phone in the bath. I'm in there for 3 hours. I can do some emails or some conference calls and just don't move the water so they don't know I'm in the bathtub. I'm like, oh, still like this. But I have to learn, and I'm learning to this day. I'm 47, but I'm learning, you gotta take that time, particularly like entrepreneurs or when you're being a leader, because the real knowledge and the real ahas and the real like big moments come when you're silent. And one of the things that I feel like we're missing is the in-between time. If you're on a train or you're in a car and you're driving, I'm sorry, not driving. If you're in a car, say you're in an Uber or something, you're on this, answering emails, doing everything. You don't have that time for introspection. You don't have that time to look at that billboard that looks at the sky, that points to the bird flying, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do my business and I'm gonna make it fly by, so we lose that introspection because we're constantly on this. So what I'm trying to do now is in between times, like transit and things like that, to try to not be on my phone so that the big $1 billion idea can come.
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions come in about balance and how you've balanced it all. So thank you for going through that. This is just great advice. And our next question, it takes it back to personal branding. It comes from Drew, and he loves your mantra, different is better than better. And he asks, how have you been able to enter the business space with the confidence in your difference, like your different edge?
Yeah.
And how do you recuperate and reassess to sort of find your unique spin?
Yeah. Sometimes my uniqueness is to a fault. Like I'm so drawn to being innovative, to being visionary, that sometimes I go way over here, like way, like too far than what people are ready for, if that makes sense. So I've actually had to learn. So I have a new thing with my company. We say with Smize Cream, meet them where they are and then pull them along. And I tend to try to, with new business, go, and they're like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Because I'm like doing this as opposed to, you like ice cream, you like cookie dough, you like da-da-da. Okay, great. Now we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to show you our IP, and we're going to pull you on this journey of this crazy family called Family Swirls and all that. Like, we decided not to lead with that. Just the ice cream tastes good. Let's just meet you where you are and then pull. So that is what I've had to learn. Most people, it's the other way around, where like a little bit too safe and need to take some risk. So like whoever you are, where you feel like you're a little bit safe, you're like my counterpart and would be an amazing business person because you're level-headed and you're like, slow your roll. And I'm a little crazy saying, no, let's speed up. And that there's some beauty with that when you have business partners that are on opposite ends of that. And then there's the second part of his question.
How do you recuperate and reassess like your unique spin?
Same thing. Yeah, like realizing too far and pull back, meet them where they are and pull them.
I have a question around kind of what would you tell yourself as you've progressed through your career? Like, what would you tell yourself from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, starting your career? Like, what are some of the lessons, the biggest life lessons you've learned?
I've lost a lot of money, like betting on myself. And I think one of the things, I'm surrounded by very strong finance people now. So one of the things would be invest in people that know finance and accounting in your business. If you don't know it, that should be some of the best money spent, because it may be a little bit too much more than you want your budget to handle at that moment. but it is going to save you tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And I have that now, but I didn't have that in the past and lost significant amounts of money because, you know, or hiring somebody that's more sales and they're running your business, but they're sales, so they want to spend, you know, so there's just certain things that, you know, hiring people also, and making sure that the KPIs allow you to be aligned is another thing. So I would set somebody up and say, okay, I need you to do this and to do that, but it didn't line up with the goals of the company. So they're going, and they're personally winning and the company's losing. So the KPIs and making sure that they're aligned is really important, and getting some finance people in there. And even if they're the highest paid person, they're going to save you a lot of money and make you a lot of money.
Love that. Love that.
Yes. So a few of our questions to also just talk about your creative process. So being on, I hear a lot, like the hardest part of being an entrepreneur is coming up with that initial idea and having the confidence to execute and just go with it. What does your creative process look like? You mentioned epiphanies a lot. Does that happen often? And then how do you get the confidence to pursue your ideas?
Yeah, so my weakness is too many creative ideas. And it sounds like that job interview, like, well, what are your weaknesses? Well, I just work too hard. You know, I just don't know when to turn it off. It's like, no, tell me a real weakness, child. So, but when I say my weakness is too many creative ideas, it actually can be a negative, because it's just always like, oh, here's the next thing. Oh no, this is cool. And what about if we do this? And I don't mean a new business. I mean new ideas inside of the business. And so I have tasked my team to like do a proverbial slap of my hand, like, no, let's focus. That's cool. Let's write it down, but let's focus. So yeah, that is a little bit of weakness of mine is creative ideas. I will be honest though, this morning, I promised our team, we have really strong graphic artist that also has a very strong advertising background. And then I have on my television production side, the woman that runs that, she also is highly creative. And so we had a meeting about what our smize cream commercials are going to be, which you're going to see in a couple of weeks. Not even, there's no idea yet, but you're literally going to see it in a couple of weeks. And we were on the call. I was having an allergy attack yesterday again. And I'm like, you guys, I realize there's no North Star, and that has to come from me. So I need to at least give you the North Star idea so that you can marinate on that. Allergy attack did not allow me to do that. I don't have an idea for them this morning. So but I also have a weakness with delegation, particularly with creative, because I'm like, I'm creative, I can, you know, but my allergy attack this morning was a blessing because they are highly creative and highly talented. And this allergy attack allowed me to get out of their way. And so they're going to present me ideas today that I might polish or add or something. And you guys will see that in a couple of weeks on social media.
We're excited.
Just as the last question, I know so many people on this call would kill me if I don't ask this question, but can you give us a quick minute smize lesson, please?
Oh, a smize lesson. Yes. Okay. Everybody, see I'm turned sideways? Don't do that. Turn to your screen, face forward. I need you to think very blah, dead, nothing, just blah. Relax your face, just relax everything. Now, I need you to think of something, and I need everybody to say it out loud. I know you guys are muted, but say out loud something that you want. It could be food, it could be a person, be anything, something that you want, something that's tasty. And I want you to imagine it right here, but that it's getting further and further away and it's out of reach. And you're seeing it, but it's becoming further and further and further away. So your eyes have to squint to see it. And also the desire in your eyes for that object, that person, that thing is here. Squint to see it and desire it. Mouths are Novocaine. No smiles, no nothing. Novocaine mouth, went to the dentist. All the energy is here. And that is a smize. No smize?
Did we do it?
You guys did do it, yes.
I'm my best.
And also, you know what? You can also like, you know, it's the desire, it's something far and you can't see it anymore, so you have to squint. And you also can be a little pissed. So like, what? You said what? And then, but then relax. Really? And then relax the rest of the face. Mm-hmm.
You just made all my dreams.
This was a great moment. I loved it.
Well, thank you so much, Tyra. We want to make sure we end on time. We are so thankful for you being here today as one of our conference speakers. I just am so amazed that we even had this moment with you. And I am so excited for the talk today. We got some great gems out of this talk,
Yes.
and all of the audience really enjoyed today.
Well, thank you guys so much. And I have to tell you that back in the day, I used to go to Columbia. I used to go up there and sit on those steps, your beautiful stairs, and write and create and think of new ideas. There was something about those stairs and the view of your campus. I remember there used to be a pigeon with albinism, and he would always, or she would always be there every time I went. And I was like, yeah, I'm all about unique beauty and differentiation. And you're right there saying I'm on the right track on those beautiful stairs. So you guys are in one of the best institutions in the entire world. And I'm very honored to have been here with you today.
Oh, thank you
As
so
well
much.
as all the other business students. What? Stanford? Ooh, I don't know where, Harvard, UCLA. I don't know where else. Hi, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for joining today's Elevate series discussion with Tyra Banks. Tyra shared so many amazing gems that we hope you all can take away with you. Different is better than better. I think that that is something that we will all always remember. It's okay to be inspired by other people, but remember what makes you stand different, and really try and find that white space. And if you're looking for someone, a mama bear or papa bear, anyone to provide you with insight, be unapologetic. And I think it's really interesting. She said, you know, don't bring up their business, bring up something personable that will make you stand out, which goes along with different is better than better. And it's really important to pour into self-care. As Tyra was saying, sometimes you just need to stop. And sometimes you have to learn how to truly take a moment to take a break for you. And that's really important. Try and find those moments of solitude. So we hope that you all enjoyed today's session with Tyra Banks. Today's session will be recorded, and we will be sharing this recording as well as other recordings from the conference at the end of the series. So be on the lookout for that upcoming soon. We also took notes of those audience members in the audience. In the spirit of entrepreneurship, we will be sending out gifts to individuals in the audience who did ask questions. So we appreciate all of your engagement today, as well as your engagement in other discussions in the series. We have one more discussion lined up to conclude the Elevate Speaker Series, and we'll be partnering with Columbia Admissions actually for this event. So be on the lookout on IG and Eventbrite for more announcements about our special guest speaker. With that being said, I hope that you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a great one, everyone, and thank you again to Tyra and her team for joining us today. What a phenomenal discussion. Bye, everyone.